Welcome to the Potion Podcast, your raw look at the hospitality industry, brought to you by SHC. What's happening, Post Shifters? Welcome back to the special World Class Canada Nationals 10th anniversary series. I hope you're enjoying the episodes. There's a lot of episodes. They're short, but there's a lot of episodes. Quick concession, covering all the competitors on the very first day, which we should have just finished, and then fast forwarding all the way through to the last competitors day, the last competitions where I got the opportunity to sit down with alumni and guest judges and just sort of have a chat and see how they feel about World Class, especially in the 10th anniversary of the Canadian Nationals. And I hope you're enjoying the episodes. And if you're enjoying the episodes, let me know. I'm having a blast again. I may keep doing this, so you never know. But as always, team, thanks for the support. Bye. So 10th anniversary for World Class. We have 2017 winner. We have 2021, because there was no 2022. 2020.
No, there was no 2020.
That's right. Oh. Yes, I did Massey today. What am I talking about? I can't believe it was 2 years ago already. So really, your two experiences on the national and global level is very, very different in the fact that it was your first time competing at World Class and won the whole shebang. And then you were the very first and only, hopefully,
virtual winner. And it took me 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how was the experience, Kate, for you being that first time through like that?
It's interesting to look back and think back, especially now having judged so many years, because every year we judge the new competitors. I always try to put myself in their shoes, and I think about how I would go about doing the different challenges. But I think thinking about it now, having way more bar experience, I think about it completely different as I did back in 2017 when it was my first go around. It was difficult, but I think bringing a bit of naivety calmed my nerves, and it made me really just kind of appreciate the entire experience and take it all in, instead of being like, oh my God, okay, last year I know what I did wrong and I have to change this and adjust that and do this and do that. So having that little bit of hey, I'm here, whatever the results end up being, I'm going to put my best foot forward and just give her. So yeah, I don't know. Being naive sometimes is helpful. Do you
think that now you've judged a fair few years and now you've got a lot more bar experience, do you look back and go, do you think how you did it and changing it because of that knowledge you have now probably would have tripped you up at the time?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you never know, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, thinking back, I mean, there's things, sometimes I'm like, how the hell did I even make it through the first round? Through the regionals, and just thinking and picking apart all of the challenges and being like, oh yeah, I would have done this differently, or I would have, had better glassware, or I would have, done this. But clearly I did something right the first time, so no, I wouldn't go back and change anything.
You don't have to do it again.
I never have to do it again. So, yeah, it's a good learning experience. That's why I tell all the competitors every year they come through, I'm like, don't psych yourself out, because you never know. If you can put your best foot forward and showcase who you are exactly for who you are the first time go around, even if you don't win, you're making a lasting impression on some very impressionable people. So it's never a bad thing.
And Mr. Grant, yours being virtual, what did you have to tackle differently? Because was the regionals virtual that year too?
The regionals that year were virtual. We were lucky enough to have a weird but physical national final, and then global final was virtual.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing the live stream of the national finals, and everybody's 6 feet apart.
Everyone's masked, 6 feet apart.
Yeah, everyone's masks, and the speed round is 8 feet apart on two different wells with a well in between.
Yep. Yeah.
What did you have to change at the globals? Because when you don't have that tactile touch and connection with someone, I find it difficult to be hospitable.
So, I mean, communicating hospitality over what is essentially a Zoom call is pretty difficult, especially someone who, I always think of myself as a bartender who doesn't necessarily make the most complex drinks or the fanciest drinks, but I think of myself as a very skilled host, and I try to have a very honest style of hospitality. Going into the virtual global final, I was really glad that we did a virtual regionals, because I think I approached it not necessarily correctly. And I know that when I got feedback from the judges, the feedback that I got was like, oh, you clearly made it into the nationals, but you were not anywhere near the top of the 5 that made it in. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, like near miss, have to sort of reevaluate how I do it. But it was kind of, when I think about it in retrospect, it was the same thing that World Class has always been for me year after year. Having done it 5 years in a row, what I found was every year was me refining more and more, until I got down to the kind of kernel, the simplest idea of who I am as a bartender, like the very cleanest and most concise expression of that, right? Kate said to me after I won the national final that, all these years you've always had like a gimmick, and you finally figured out how to make the gimmick you.
I agree on that one. After watching you for so many years, like the year you won was the first year I saw the James Grant that I know.
Yeah.
Outside of competitions.
Yeah. And it was, that's the thing. I think World Class taught me through trial and error year after year how to clearly communicate who I am as a bartender and the best version of myself as a bartender. And so to then go to a virtual global final, again, it was like, how do we refine that even more so, and it was looking at elements of a bar and elements of bartending that I hadn't necessarily considered before, or maybe I had, but only subconsciously, where it's like, well, what are you, if the judges only have, 2 senses, like they have what they see and what they hear, how do I communicate this idea clearly to them? Is it what I'm saying, choosing my words very carefully and my cadence carefully? Is there music? Can they hear the sound of the ice or the shaker tins? Or can they not hear me dumping my tins in the sink?
Yep. We put a bunch of cloths in the sink.
We lined the sink with
just pillows in the sink.
What am I wearing? How does the bar behind me look? All of that stuff made me really hyper aware of how I bring that to even a regular bar now. And so it really was refining down to exactly what I wanted to communicate to those judges over a 5-minute Zoom call.
Also being like genuine though, right?
Yeah.
There's like you can always tell when you're, I don't know, like even on a virtual Zoom call with somebody, or like, in a competition setting face to face, you can always tell when somebody's being genuine or when they're being like the best version of themselves, because they're like, okay, I need to be the prim proper, which you obviously have to. You have to be the polished version of yourself, but you can always tell when somebody's like genuinely loving what they're doing and genuinely loving what they're presenting. So,
and I think that's what we honed in on for the last challenge, which was, this idea of, it's a speed round, and a storytelling challenge, 4 drinks, 5 minutes, to these absolute legends. And I remember thinking to myself, what finally clicked it, because I was so nervous, we'd worked so hard on getting these drinks together, and everyone was so stressed. We were getting ready to go live, and I thought, if these 4 judges walked into your bar, would you be really, really nervous, or would you be so excited to connect with them for 5 minutes, to make them eat your drink, and show them who you were as a bartender? And as soon as I started thinking about it like that, I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to say to them. I know exactly the message I have to convey, because it's this idea of like, what do you have in common with your guest? And in that sense, it's you all do this job that you love. And they want to have a great experience. They're bartenders.
Totally.
They want to see a bartender succeed. And it's exactly what I would have talked to them about had they been at my bar.
Do you think this year, Kate, with how many new people, like I've been bringing this up to all the judges, like 6 people who have never entered World Class. I think there's 2 people who've got the nationals, 2 people who've done regionals, but 6 people that have never done World Class. Do you think from judging the challenges you have, do you find that there's that, and like you said, naivety can be good sometimes. Like, do you find that there's that sort of like very, this is me situation? There's not a lot of faux, what people think you're gonna want?
I think so. Like, there's definitely, some very different personalities. Like, all the top 10 are are such individuals, which is really fun to see. And the ones that have come back, it's fun to see their growth, and to see another version of themselves. Just as I said, like seeing James go through the couple of years after we first competed together in 2017, watching him grow. But yeah, I mean, I think that for some, it's going to be, hopefully the takeaway from the competition is going to be a massive learning curve to be like, oh, wow, that was insane and wild. And when they come and do seminars and they tell us this is like the biggest and best competition in the world for a reason, because it tests all of your skills as a bartender, I think they all understood that, but didn't fully realize that, oh yeah, holy crap.
And not to have a regionals this year to sort of warm them up to the
exactly,
holy crap.
Exactly. So I am hoping that they all can walk away from this learning something about themselves and, win, lose, draw, whatever. I hope that the biggest takeaway is growth, community, meeting other bartenders, sharing techniques, sharing stories with one another, sharing this experience of this chaos in the last 3 days. So yeah, I don't know. I think the naivety is going to help some of them, and then I think the naivety is also going to whip some of them into shape for hopefully next year.
I think a big part of it too is developing confidence in who you are as a bartender, and that was obviously I think a huge strength of yours. You're always very self-assured in who you are.
She's always Kaitlyn Stewart.
Exactly.
I admire you so much for that.
Cheers.
But you see a lot of fresh competitors, and a big learning curve, like you say, from even year 1 to year 2. Is a lot of people might show up and they see who the previous winners are and they think oh, I'm supposed to be X, Y, Z. The judges are looking for this. But the competitors that do better and better each year are the ones who develop the confidence to be no, you're looking for me. You're looking for me as I am as a bartender.
Do you think there's a lot of young bartenders who started bartending during the pandemic? My Harry included. I find there's a dichotomy of either, and I try and teach a lot of the young bartenders in Victoria the same thing, is don't just be yourself, because you trying to be someone that you expect them to think you are is not going to work for you. Yeah. But I also find that a lot of young bartenders coming out of the pandemic, they really are very aware of who they are, and there is no, I suppose, blustering to mentors in this sort of hierarchy that we had before, because the big age gap of the meat, I suppose, the late 20s to mid 30s have sort of left the industry, and we've got a big gap of the older people, which are me, to super young.
I think that's sort of a tension that has existed in the industry for a long time, is especially since the kind of cocktail renaissance in the early 2000s, is that you had a very small group of people that were considered to be these pioneers or these masters, and they started training kind of these schools of bartenders, and you could kind of trace these different almost lineages of bartenders back. You can look at your Michael Madison's or your Sam Ross's back to Sasha Petrasky, and they have a very specific style of bartending. I feel like you and I have talked about it. I feel like I can always recognize a bartender that you've trained.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
No,
that's up for debate.
It's because there are ways of doing things, and there's thought process around things, and I think that because so much of our industry and the way knowledge is passed on is often in the form of an apprenticeship, that it does take a while for bartenders to step out from under the shadow of the person that they've mentored under, and it requires a certain level of confidence and expertise to be able to confidently stand in your own skill and in your own identity as a bartender. And that's why I think it's good to do world class maybe before you're ready. One of the most important things that I think probably all of us learned when we started doing the competition was being told you belong here. Whether you feel ready or not, you're part of this family and you belong here. And even that goes a little ways towards you go back to your home market, your home bar, with a little more confidence, more ideas to be able to step out from the person that's trained you and start building your own path.
There has been this kind of weird turn of, like you said, the younger bartenders. If you were to say the name Sasha Petrasky, I bet you more than half of them would have no idea who you're talking about, right? Which is kind of a shame. Or even Dale DeGroff, and you're we all know who Dale DeGroff is. We're King Cosmo, oh my gosh, right? So yeah, there's this weird kind of tide, this turn, and I don't know if it's because like social media has gotten so much bigger, or people aren't buying physical books anymore because they can just Google a recipe and they don't want to read the history or how it came to be. Whereas, bartending out 18 years myself, at least, like, we didn't really have that. It was that, yes, you have a mentor, or you go and you seek out seminars, you seek out tastings, you fly somewhere, you travel somewhere, and you make sure you sit at a bar because you've asked, the people above you or who've come before you, be like, where do I go when I'm in London? Who do I talk to? Whereas now it's like, you just open your phone, give a quick Google search, and away you go. It's not that kind of pass the baton, which is not a bad thing, but I definitely think there is like a little bit of that gap there that I'm like, oh, like that kind of sucks that there isn't as much of that anymore.
It's more like open source.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that means inherently there's less focus and guidance.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between, having to go to a record store 4 years ago and having someone being like, yeah, listen to this, and now just opening Spotify and being like, oh, I don't know, where do I start? Like,
right, exactly, yeah. So it is interesting, and I think, I don't know, even like for some of them, I hope like bringing in our guest judges and bringing in, people from, Dennis from Kettle One, and people who have like such a wealth of knowledge in the industry that have traveled around the world, met so many bartenders and had so many amazing experiences. Like, I hope everybody takes the time to like at least pull them aside and have like a 5-minute conversation with them, and learn a little bit about where they came from, and just, I don't know, seek out some counsel from somebody who's been in the industry for a long time, because I know that like I had a bar mentor like Justin Taylor. I didn't know bartending competitions existed until I started working with him, and he was a wealth of knowledge, and he kind of guided me in that direction, and I was like, I hope I can be that Justin Taylor to somebody else, to be like, hey, yes, this is what you do, this is where you go, this is who you talk to, this is how you try to get ahead, or what have you. So I hope the art of the mentor does not dissipate completely.
I think I've talked to a couple of judges about this one this week, because usually when we do these competitions, and the judges sort of always have their like, who's in their head, who's going to be like progressing. And again, first time seeing people, you're not seeing that repeat 3 or 4 or 5 times like yourself, so you don't see that, so it's automatic. Do either of you have sort of like in your head like who you think could be in the top 4?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a different answer when I asked people yesterday.
I mean,
I think I have a top 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's like there's, you don't want to give anything away,
no.
but you can definitely see, because yes, it is about, the drink in the glass, but a lot of the times you read the breakdown of the score sheets, and taste and balance is like not that many points compared to a lot of the other categories that are there. So you can definitely, see people that were reading the brief, reading the instructions, reading the challenge description back to front and all over again, and making sure to hit every single point in that brief. And for me, when that happens, like, you're shooting up the ladder, because you're paying attention and you know exactly what we're looking for. So if you can do that, and if you can, tick all your boxes and cross your T's, dot your I's, then
good to go. You're
automatically shooting up. And then obviously your drinks have to taste good. And, it's, everybody gets nervous competing. So I don't count the shaky hands or sometimes if you lose your place in your speech, like, we've all been there, but if you can tick all those boxes.
Well, we're a couple of hours away from announcing the top 4.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sitting down with me. It was awesome as always.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
No, I love having you two on my podcast.
It's awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Rock and roll.
Thanks for listening, Pose Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really enjoy sitting down with friends and peers and just chatting about the industry and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's really going on out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything on all the platforms. Just hit it up and I'll do my best to answer any queries or questions you have. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.